Hello and welcome to another episode of So They Say It's Haunted. Today we're looking at Cleres Hall in Thurrock Essex, but first of all I want to say a massive thank you for all the support you're showing me. I really appreciate every single view and every single like that you give my videos. It really encourages me to carry on making more content. So let's have a look at St Cleres Hall. In 1690 the building was erected by Robert Adams and was called New Jenkins. In 1735 a two-storey Georgian brick building with a later parapet was built by James Adams, and the building took the name Adamsley. In St Margaret's Church in Stamford there's a tomb of the Adams family tomb, and the tomb actually belongs to James Adams, although there's been some confusions over the name of it. I'll give you a little breakdown of it. This tomb, according to some of the history books, belongs to Thomas Adams or Robert Adams, depending on what book you're reading at the time, but in fact it actually belongs to James Adams. Now the tomb is actually quite spooky. It's worth a little walk down there to have a look at it. There's plans to raise some funds to look after the tomb a bit better. It's an important part of our local history, so it'd be really nice to see it safeguarded for future generations. Soon after it was called Adamsley, it actually changed its name to the Rookery, but in 1873 it went on to be changed again to Old Jenkins, and that's the name that's actually down on most of the old maps of Stamford Hoe. The name may have changed back to the Rookery in 1901 because again it's recorded as the Rookery on some maps again, so it keeps sort of fluctuating between the name changes. Finally the name changed again to St Cleres Hall in 1934. Mr William Wilson bought it after he sold the old St Cleres Hall down in East Tilbury. With so many name changes going on, it's been quite complicated to research the history of this. This was one of Thurrock Paranormal's first ever investigations. It was quite complicated to explain to people what we was trying to do, so people weren't really forthcoming with the information. So it was a lot harder to go down to the local museum and to get people to cooperate with us to get the history of it. What we do know is one of the owners was the clerk of the stables for King George I. And there was a rumour, and it's been written in some history books, that he kept lions at St Cleres Hall. That's not true. Apparently he was in charge of the lions at the Tower of London. So yeah, there are some reports in some local history books that we had lions down in the cellar. That's not the case. Unfortunate. It would have been a great bit of history, but as far as I know there was never lions at the bottom of St Cleres Hall. So coming on to some of the ghost stuff and the paranormal stuff now, it was quite an interesting one. We had a lot of local residents that have actually worked there during the time that had come forward with lots of ghost stories and ghost tales that had gone on, and some of them that you could push aside, but some of them really sort of like grabbed your interest. And one of them was about a ghost dog at the bottom of the stairs. So the story goes is that the gentleman had gone away for some time, and during his travels the dog actually passed away that he had left at home, and he passed away at the bottom of the stairs in St Cleres Hall, and he still remains there today waiting for the owner. Now you could sort of say, oh yeah, I've heard this sort of stuff before, but say something strange happens here. When you come down the stairs at St Cleres Hall, for some reason you take an extra step as if you're stepping over something, and a lot of the maids and staff do this automatically. And when we've done our investigation now, one of the team members who didn't know anything about history come down the stairs and took a big step over as if he's stepping over something at the bottom, and he turned around and said, I thought I was stepping over something. This made one of the ladies that was with us that night from St Cleres Hall laugh and turned around and said, see, I told you. So it's one of these things where, we had a little bit of evidence there that there is this feeling that there should be something, either an extra step or something like that you have to step over as you come down the stairs. Many members of the staff at St Cleres Hall report seeing flying objects in the main downstairs area. Now we went into that area and it's a big sort of grand dining room. And what staff will tell you, they've seen knives and forks flying across the room, pictures coming off the wall and flying across the room, not just falling down, but literally as if they've been spun and thrown across the room. And this is quite a common report that we've had. We don't really know much about the cause of this, but it is said to be haunted by an old lady who was the wife of one of the owners. And I'll insert a picture right here for you of the lady who it's meant to be of. As one of the staff members walked back into the room after laying the table, all the knives and forks just flew straight off the table onto one end of the room. This was quickly followed by one of the paintings falling straight onto the floor. And these are the type of common experiences that staff members had whilst they was working at St Cleres Hall. As St Cleres Hall is so old, it's common to have different temperature changes. These old brick buildings, they've got the wood flooring, And it's very common to find like hot spots and cold spots within these sort of buildings. It can be damp and things like that. One of the most common occurrences that happened inside St Cleres Hall was staff all of a sudden getting a really cold breeze down the back of their neck. And this was on a warm summer's day, so it ruled out things like cold drafts and that coming across through the building. And they'd also feel quite eerie, as if they'd been watched as well. And one of the main areas for this where it would happen was also the sighting of a lady that he's seen looking out the window in St Cleres Hall. Some redevelopments have been done in St Cleres Hall, and the second floor that used to be bedrooms is now a big function hall. But at the one end was a big window, and people from outside have often seen a lady standing at the window looking out. But on the flip side of that, staff members have often reported walking in and seeing a lady standing looking out the window. And this is that same room where they tend to get this cold breeze come across them. Since we did our investigation, I mean that was nearly like nearly 20 years ago now, other people have come forward with more stories. One staff member came forward and told us about an incident that happened down in the cellar. While she was down in the cellar, she came over feeling quite ill, and she turned around to go back upstairs, but she felt a hand on the back of her shoulders push her into the wall, and she felt pinned up against the wall, and she was absolutely paralysed with fear, and she was screaming out. One of the other staff members come running down to see what happened, only to find her co-worker was sitting on the floor crying and sobbing her heart out, saying that she's been attacked by somebody. There's no way anyone else was in that building at the time apart from the two staff workers, but she did say that she felt really cold just before it all happened. And again, one that's not saying about cold spots are definitely paranormal, but you do hear this generally worldwide, that you get this cold breeze when a spirit is present or anything like that, and it just links into that common term that you hear about ghost stories. Since we did our investigation, I say it was 20 years ago, other teams have actually gone to visit, and down in that cellar people say they've been pinched on the back of their neck, or they've been tripped over, or they've been shoved as they're walking down into the cellar. So again, I can't confirm their stories. I can only go on what I know, what I've been told, what we see. I mean, we had, let's say, spiritualist mediums with us, and they picked up on names like Mary, Arthur. There are quite common names for back in that time, so it won't be hard to link those names with the actual location. One of the less reported ghosts, but again no more scary if you see it, is the one of the less reported ghosts, and not one of the less reported ghosts, but not if you see it, it will still be pretty scary, is the ghost of the white lady that walks around the outside of the building. Now, she's been reported to be seen by a few golfers that have finished a twilight game or coming out of the golf range of an evening and see her heading around the back towards the back of the building. One of the gentlemen thought it was quite strange to see this young lady walking around there, so he followed her around the back of the building, but she completely disappeared. And if you know the area, you can't get past the back of the building, it just loops around the building and back to the car park again. So again, that's quite a strange one. The doors were locked, so she couldn't have gone in. And again, he said she was all in white. Again, a typical ghost. A common report is the smell of tobacco. Again, you do hear that a lot, and there are explanations why old buildings do tend to smell of tobacco, is that they can seep into the walls, and as moisture exposes over the years, it can actually come out and people can actually smell that, even 100 years later. But on these occasions, this is smelt as fresh tobacco coming out of what they believe is a pipe, and it follows them all the way down the main staircase and into the main area, the main dining room area again. And this has been reported by so many staff, it's probably the most common reported event now. What I think we could all agree on, it's definitely a creepy looking building, and you add that to the tomb of the builders that's up in the churchyard, it's definitely got a spookiness about it, and about the whole thing. Why did he choose to have a tomb like that built for the family, and the style, almost I'd say it's more like a gothic type of building the way it looks. But go and have a look. It's just as you drive into Stamford off the old A13, and let me know in the comments below what you think of it. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up, give me a subscription, and I'll try and do another one really soon. Okay, thank you, bye.